Well, this is your frequent reminder of how crucial sleep is to your health. Researchers in Britain found that if you're 50 and older, not getting enough sleep significantly ups your chances of developing chronic disease. After following nearly 8,000 people for 25 years, they say those who slept 5 hours or less a night had a higher risk of serious health problems such as cancer, dementia, and heart disease. Here to help explain the science of sleep is Dr. Kendra Becker with Kaiser Permanente. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, let's start off with a study. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this study is different from ones we've heard of before?
Yeah, so the most interesting part about this study is actually its length and the amount of people in the study. Most of these research studies that we look at, they have much smaller patient populations, and they're usually done over 3, 6 months, maybe a year. This one has almost 8,000 patients that are in the study population, as well as it was done over 25 years, looking at how much people are sleeping, and if you sleep very low, a very little amount, less than 5 hours, it just really increases over time your risk of having these chronic diseases.
And the study found that when people 50 and up sleep less than 5 hours, they have a higher chance of developing an entire array of health problems, everything from Parkinson's to diabetes, stroke risk. How does this apply to sleep play, such as playing a role in the chronic illnesses that we're talking about here?
Yeah, it definitely has a role to play. I mean, we see it over other studies as well, but this study really highlighted the fact that, patients who sleep less than 5 hours per night really are at increased risk, especially over time. You really get into that sleep debt over over the years. And when you're just increasing that, 1 or 2 hours of sleep that you should have been getting, if you look at that over 1 week, you've lost already 7 to 14 hours of sleep. That's 1 to 2 nights of sleep per week. So imagine what that's doing to the body and how you're not getting that restorative, sleep that you need. And therefore, over these, years, they show, by the time you hit, 70, you have almost a 40% chance of having all these different diseases that you mentioned.
Yeah, and we know you can't catch up on sleep, but how frequently would you have to sleep less than 5 hours for it to become like a serious problem? Say you get 8 hours of sleep 4 days a week, but 3 days a week you get less than 5 hours. I mean, how do you add it up?
It is hard. I mean, if you miss one night of sleep, you're probably okay if you've been sleeping well. But the really big problem is when you've been chronically not sleeping well. So it's just the amount of time over years. I mean, the study is really looking at, years of doing this. So usually you can handle this when you're maybe in your 20s and 30s. But what it's highlighting really is that once you hit over 50 and all the other things, just keep that chronic sleep deprivation, it's going to take a toll. And that's what it highlights.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, about a third of Americans get less than 7 hours of sleep a night. What's keeping so many of us awake?
Well, yeah, so, it is a big problem, and it's something that we really need to address. If you look back over 100 years ago, right, there was almost virtually no, insomnia or sleep deprivation that didn't exist. Today, with all this electronic use and, computers and TVs and smartphones before bed, it's really changing how we sleep. It's pushing our sleep time back. It's making sleep less of a priority, and that's really what's happening.
So I guess you're saying put the phones down, put the tablet down, don't watch TV right before bed?
That's it. That's exactly right.
Okay. Well, a lot of people use smart watches maybe to track their sleep. Does that even help?
So there is a place for smartwatches that are monitoring your sleep patterns. But for the most part, most people who are using them, unfortunately, are the patients who are really worried about their sleep. They're the ones that have insomnia. So just tracking and keeping an eye on your sleep is really going to make your sleep probably more fragmented and more concerned, because you're sitting there spending so much time focusing on your sleep. So I say no monitoring sleep with those wearable devices while you're having issues of sleep.
I think I get that all the time when I'm laying there thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm losing sleep. And then next thing you know, I just keep thinking about the fact that I'm losing sleep and it messes with me. Well, we've heard of people setting a sleep routine maybe. Is that easy enough to actually do?
It is. I mean, it's really about, making a bedtime routine, keeping a good sleep schedule, avoiding alcohol and avoiding caffeine, in the evening time. And, it's really important to get rid of the blue lights, electronic use before bed, as we said. That really just stimulates the brain, makes us stay up much later. And, we just need to put them away earlier. Ultimately, I think the takeaway message is we need to make sleep more of a priority. And that's really what I think will help us.
Yeah, sleep is so, I love sleeping, but I need more.
Exactly. Especially with your schedule.
Exactly. You know it. Okay, Dr. Becker, thank you so much. Some really good tips there.
Thank you.